say the word Christmas again around Christmas time. Think about how novel that is. Isn't that amazing? So the world is becoming a better place. We're getting more free speech, or should I say, our right to speak as we want. So there's lots of good things going on. There's lots to celebrate today. So anyways, Libby says, I never stop saying it. Yeah, Libby, I'm not surprised. And nor should you have. Nobody owns your lips, and you get to say what you want. That's just how British common law works, whether we like it or not. Well, British common law, maybe more American law, but anyways, we'll get into the weeds on that right now. But I hope you're all awesome. I'm sorry I haven't been here for a couple days. I was going to do a stream on, I don't even know, what day did I head out last? On Tuesday, but I had to get I had to get my truck serviced, and I'm going to need some more service. And I just couldn't squeeze in that, and all these things, and interviews popping up, and a million different things that are going on right now that's making my life a little bit crazy, but it's awesome. And good morning, Bridget. Good morning, Phil Mission, Megan. It's good to have all you here. Tonight, by the way, I'm going to be on a Twitter space as kind of a guest with DJ Satoshi's a guy on Twitter who has been for many months, a year, I'm not sure, has been trying to orange pill people and teach them about Bitcoin. And I got to know him more just after the Convoy. And we've been helping some of you get into Bitcoin and stuff. This is not a Bitcoin stream. Just letting you know that if you want to join the conversation, it's going to be tonight at a time. Things are so crazy right now. Let me just see, because he tagged me on something. I think it's at 9 o'clock tonight. Well, let's just say 9 o'clock tonight. There's going to be a Twitter space. Come join us. Come on stage. Raise your hand. Let's talk. And make it a positive experience for all of us. It'll be amazing. So, this is your Freedom Coffee live stream, and where you come in here, and the very first thing that happens is I wish you a good morning and hope to get you on the path to having an amazing day and having just a positive day, and all those negative experiences you go through, like, I don't know, getting your truck serviced, are just little, annoyances. It's noise on the side that doesn't really have to affect you emotionally. We just deal with it. And I'm going to get more into that over the next little while on the different strategies that I used in Ottawa, but used in business, used for many years to kind of mitigate and help compartmentalize all the stress that I guess is set upon me, but I don't really feel the stress from it. You might have seen some of it this week in a Twitter space where I had a little conversation with Hurt Locker Tom, and I haven't figured out a name for the lawyer, our former lawyer, but and then a bunch of lefties took up, grabbed some of the. I don't mean lefties right now in a pejorative way. They grabbed some of the audio and they clipped it and they put it online, and I'm like, perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. It was quite interesting. Whining Wilson, no, it's something more. I don't know. I have some ideas, but anyways, I haven't got into dealing with him yet. I'm still dealing with Hurt Locker Tom. A friend got upset, and I'm like, I'm not criticizing the military. I put out a tweet saying, I put a link to Hurt Locker Tom. Hurt Locker Tom is Tom Razzo, by the way. I put a tweet out to Hurt Locker Tom's IMDb account where he just recently uploaded his picture. So clearly he's very interested in his acting career. Maybe he was an actor all along. I don't know. And yeah, he just he imploded when he came into a Twitter space that I was in. They were doing damage control, obviously, because there was an article that came out from Diverge Media that was well researched and explained everything that was going on. behind the scenes, and that things were, let's just say, deceptive towards people. And of course, Hurt Locker Tom couldn't answer the questions, like he never can. He got stumbled on this question when I said to Hurt Locker Tom, I said, "What intel did you leak to the police when you secretly went to meet with them without telling the rest of us? When, by the way, you weren't a board member, you weren't an organizer, you were just a volunteer that showed up." And he tried to deflect once and started, I can't remember what he said, but it was clearly he's just going in deflection mode. And I brought it back. I'm like, answer my question. What did you leak to the Ottawa police? And after 3 times, because he couldn't answer the question, Keith Wilson pops up. And I asked him some questions. What does Keith Wilson do? What does Keith Wilson do every time you ask him a question of specificity? He starts on some rant about, an emotive rant about, this prime minister has taken away our freedoms. It's not what I ask you. I ask you a specific question, answer it, right? So you saw a little bit of that in the space. What I'm thinking is, we did that, what's it called? The Punchy McGregor documentary, where we made it like a drinking game on a Saturday night. I'm thinking to take that Twitter space because, I have a recording. It's amazing. And they think I'm embarrassed about it. I'm like, what do you mean? It was completely intentional. I was thinking to upload that Twitter space to locals and do, a Saturday night drinking game where we all go through it, and much like with the Punchy McGregor documentary, I can stop and I can have breaks and then explain what's going on and what is untruthful and what was happening. So I will. If you think I should do that, just let me know, and I'll figure out a time. This weekend's going to be really difficult. I got to pack in a whole bunch of trucking hours, and I got a ton of interviews popping up, and so I can't really. Maybe if I can do it this weekend, I'll do it. If not, maybe we'll do it next weekend. But it was very interesting to see that Mr. Wilson, who broke privilege in his testimony, but had parliamentary immunity, broke privilege once again in this Twitter space, and rehashed exactly what he said under parliamentary protection. And that's going to be very, very interesting for him, I think. But we'll see how that that transpires. But Diverge Media did a 2-minute, excerpt from his testimony. And somebody should send it to Ezra Levant and Rebel News. What is it? It's really the most important parts of our former lawyers, not just myself. He's a former lawyer for all the Freedom Corp people. Well, he's a former lawyer for the JCCF. I don't know. It's all confusing. It's all a mess as always, and there's a layer of complexity just to cause confusion, which happens a lot in politics. That's you have political actors, and it's a very interesting. Diverge Media, go to their YouTube account, or they're on Facebook as well, and I want to ask you, because that's when he's not participating as a lawyer. Keith Wilson is then a witness. He is no longer the lawyer. He's a witness. I want you to look at that video and listen to what he says, and you tell me who he represents. Does he represent the government, or does he represent the convoy? Because he seemed to have a lot of comments that painted the convoy as fringe. I don't have his exact words here. That's why you should watch it. And you tell me who he's representing in his testimony during the commission. So hats off to Greg at Diverge Media, who is going down the rabbit hole. Didn't really understand what I was getting at with my testimony, and it kind of sparked some interest. There's 3 or 4 other journalists as well who have the same perspective. A couple of them are very prominent, and they as well are kind of going through down the rabbit hole to trying to figure out, okay, well, what actually has been going on, because something's not adding up here. So it is what it is, and that's going to lead me to the next point, is the topic of this, of telling the truth, and what happens when you tell the truth to people, and it's not in line with the narrative that they had. So a couple up, waking up, and F Antifa left wing nuts. Yeah, I think Donald, they're more. That's just communists. That's all it is. It's this new form of racialized communists, because they're all from wealthy, privileged kids, privileged families. So it's no longer about where you are in the economic scale. It's just about, well, what they use race. So it's far more insidious, and we got to reach out to our friends who were or are still liberal, for them to really remind them of what liberal values are. We may disagree on a whole bunch of policy ideas, but we're all we're in the same field in terms of individual freedom and liberalism of people, right? Let's see. Steak Bear, that's an awesome name. This is referring to the to the Twitter space. Wilson launched into legalese for no reason. Well, yeah, it's a little bit of legalese, and then it's a little bit of Braveheart. We got to fight for our freedoms. This prime minister, not once has he mentioned Doug Ford, has he? He hasn't mentioned Doug Ford's passports, where they were considering implementing passports for grocery stores and pharmacies. Doesn't mention that, right? That was all Doug Ford, and that was all conservatives. So this is not liberal versus conservative. This is a class of people who feel they're in control. It's kind of like O'Doyle rules. We're in control. Good morning, all, and to you as well, BJ. Thank you very much. He was talking way too much. Lawyers know better. Yeah, but he's not in the he's not acting as a lawyer there. He's acting as a political operative, which is what I argue he was doing the entire time. But anyways, enough about him. Doesn't really matter. It is what it is. So in this process of telling the truth, look, I knew that this would be a challenge. Why? Because I knew I've seen a lot of this before. Let me just double back a little bit on something. And this will kind of give you a frame of what happened. So, or how this process works. CNN, I mentioned this before. Scott Adams brought up this point, and it's super accurate, and it's exactly human behavior. CNN, about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that, CNN put out a tweet, and thank you, Libby, for the Canadian. That's a beautiful picture, by the way. Put out a tweet on Twitter, or a series of them, explaining that CNN is going to shift focus since they have a new CEO, and CNN is going to focus on being less partisan, so less politically partisan, and they're going to try and focus on factual, objective news. Okay? Now, what do you think the response was from the people who follow CNN on Twitter when CNN says, we're going to do better, we're going to focus on factual news reporting? You know what happened? They lost their minds. They all got angry. They started attacking CNN. Like, what do you mean? Why are you doing this? This is Donald Trump, and this Donald Trump speaking. Those are the best ones. And because what is that? Because we, much like the internet and news, and we need to realize we all do this. We all have this inherent. This is where the progressives take bias and then go off a cliff into this unconscious bias nonsense. But we all do have that to a point where there's a degree of confirmation bias, and we're going to go to a news source that agrees with our preconceived notions, right? We're all subjected to that. That's just human nature. And some of us try to push back against that. Some of us, like myself, I always like to hear the other side, even though I think half the time they're batshit crazy. But whatever, I want to at least hear their perspective. And we do that with search engines as well. Like Google, if you think you're getting information when you Google or DuckDuckGo, or you choose your search engine, or even YouTube, whatever. If you think you're getting information, you're not getting information. You're getting a reinforcement of your worldview. Because how are you searching for things? When you go on and you search whatever topic it is, you're searching something that's going to give you confirmation bias. It's just instinctive of us. There's nothing wrong with it. There is something wrong with it when we try to do critical analysis of objective facts, but we all do that. That's why people have it's why you don't watch MSNBC or the CBC, because they're hot garbage, and you know already what they're going to say. And from your worldview, everything they say is going to be completely false. And I agree with you. I tend to agree with you. But that's why, right? And that's sort of the phenomenon that I'm dealing with in terms of what's going on around telling the truth, okay? And explaining what went on during the call. I'm essentially pushing back against a narrative. So I started seeing this word deal. There's no deal. Like, we never even use that word. And I made that mistake in my testimony when I said, I kept asking Keith, how's your deal going? I didn't use the word deal. We just referred to it to speaking to the city. That's all it was. And I was mocking them because I told them from day one that was the stupidest idea that you can do. All that's going to do is weaken us from a negotiating standpoint, like negotiating in business. That just weakens us. And they just went and did it as well. Anyway, they don't understand the client with solicitor relationship. That's not how it works. And so I just we referred to it as the talking to the city, right? So how's talking to the city going? Every time it's not going well. It's not going well. So in August, I started hearing this narrative about a deal, and I was alerted a couple of months before, which I explained in my testimony, that they were going to try to set me up around some tweet, and then that was going to be the EMA and all that sort of stuff, like the cartoon world that these people live in. They think that's how the world actually operates, and it doesn't. So they're trying to spin a narrative, right? They're trying to just put out a narrative and get ahead of it a few months before the commission. So once I saw that, I knew, okay, this is going to be an uphill battle, and it's going to be difficult to persuade people back to the truth. And some people will accept it, some people won't. The majority will accept it over time, because at the end of the day, like I put in that Mark Twain quote yesterday in my social media, when you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything, right? You don't have to go back and, let me explain what was really good. Like, no. It's like there's some element of that, but it's it's far more simple when it's the truth. It's not this complex web that looks like a pretzel that, the city was talking at this time, and then 2 hours later, we were talking about, like, stop it, right? And that's what we're all seeing. So I knew once the opportunity was there, and I could explain factually what went on, what was going on behind the scenes. And, Bridget is here. She could confirm it. Chris Guerra will confirm it. Chad Eros will confirm it. 50% of the board will confirm everything, or the original board, because nobody's on that board anymore. That I knew what would happen is certain people would reject it, right? Because when you've bought into a narrative, there's an expression in journalism. The first narrative becomes the story, right? And much of the left-wing media knows that. That's why they're quick to throw out a narrative as quickly as possible, because they know once the majority of people accept it, then it's going to be very difficult for the truth to come around and explain it, because there's a percentage of people that no matter what you show them, no matter how many you could show them, like documented evidence, like I did in my testimony, saying that in their words, their text messages, we've drafted nothing from the city. They wrote that, not me. Yet people still slip into cognitive dissonance because they bought into a framing and a narrative, and that's all it is. And so when I saw Keith Wilson starting to do the tour on Rebel News, then I realized that, okay, they're trying to craft a narrative that this is what it is. It's going to be an uphill battle, and it'll have to be a sustained response, that's the stage that we're in right now. And I could tell even yesterday, there were people slowly realizing, putting things together. From what I understand, by the way, from Guillaume, all my evidence is now online on the commission website, but it's not labeled BJD. Only 3 files are labeled BJD. The other file names are different file names. So again, I'm going to address that in locals and go through the evidence with all of you over time. So when, if you try to explain to somebody, to wake them up saying that's not what you're being told didn't happen, because we didn't drive across the country to go for coffee and then come back. That's not what the Freedom Convoy was. So this whole, oh yeah, we're going to end it for you. It's like, yeah, thanks, buddy. We don't need you, right? That was kind of my attitude to them most of the time. Lori says news programs should always be nonpartisan. Just give me the facts. I'll make my own opinion. I agree, Lori. Unfortunately, it's not the world we live in, but I wish that was the case. But the other thing is, it would be kind of boring. They're doing it. It's narrative journalism. It's for engagement. There's a higher degree of engagement when people are giving their opinions around news, and they really cross the line quite a lot. So I don't really mind so much if they're open and they're honest. I mean, the problem with the CBC, for example, in Canada, is they like to say that we're nonpartisan, but it's completely partisan and non-factual. We knew the National Enquirer growing up was not factual news. I mean, everybody understood that. It was entertainment. The CBC and MSNBC, all these platforms, they're not news, they're entertainment. And people haven't seemed to make that shift in understanding and whatever. So anyways, why do people have this? So people are having this visceral reaction, some people, when they see the Diverge Media article, they see the interview, they listen to the Twitter Spaces, they see other people writing articles and explaining. And what do? They slip into cognitive dissonance. And you know how you can see cognitive dissonance? Is when somebody says, shows a piece of evidence or shows an article in Diverge Media. They read the entire article, and what do they respond? BJ is a Fed, right? They start attacking me, right? Or they start attacking somebody else, or they start attacking, Chris or whatever. When you're representing them with facts that are broken down, evidence-based, and filed, like you don't get better evidence than something that is filed on the public record in a legal document, and they turn around and attack the person. So, for example, there is an affidavit that was drafted. I posted it online of a document that was drafted by Keith Wilson's agent that says on March the 8th, the agent working for Keith Wilson received a seed phrase for the Bitcoin, and on March 9th, this affidavit was drafted and it was submitted to the escrow, the escrow agent for the case. Okay, that's Keith Wilson's document. That's his own document saying that. And his agent, an agent's basically, you're a lawyer, you have a file, you hire other lawyers to come on and to help you. That's an agent who you still have the file, but the agent is representing you. So that's why it was shocking to hear him try to suggest that, I have the Bitcoin or something like that, because it's all in escrow. But somebody's in cognitive dissonance when you show them, here is the affidavit, right? This affidavit was drafted by the legal team, run by Keith Wilson. And when they're in cognitive dissonance, what do they respond? Dichter stole the Bitcoin. It's like, no. This is a matter of public record. This is not about your opinion. This is public record in a legal case. No, but Dichter stole the Bitcoin. That's cognitive dissonance, because somebody was primed to accept a narrative and to believe a narrative, and then they heard it through repetition. Remember, Climate Barbie said the key is just to say your talking point over and over again, and eventually people will accept it. That's what they're doing. That's exactly the strategy that they were doing. That's why they started in the beginning of April with, the deal, because I went and got my own lawyer, right? And, that was a problem for them. So anyways, much like it takes repetition for them to accept it, there's certain strategies to undo that, and it takes time. That's just the way it is. And it also gets further, remember I mentioned confirmation bias? It also gets further implanted by the recipient through confirmation bias. So they're issued an idea, in this case a deal, repeated over and over again on Rebel News, on True North, on all these different little platforms, so people get the impression that they're hearing it from different sources, but they're really hearing it from the same source just over and over again. And then what does the person do? They go on social media and they try to, or on the internet on a search engine, and what are they searching? They're not searching, the escrow agent for the legal case around Freedom Convoy. They're searching, Dichter took the Bitcoin, right? And that's not factually accurate, because there is they're not searching affidavit around Freedom Convoy Bitcoin. If they search the affidavit and they look at it, then they'll see what the truth is. So do people want the truth? No, people don't want the truth. People want to be right. And once they, they've been primed to have an opinion, they've heard it enough times, that now becomes part of their identity, and they hold on to it, and they want to be right. And they don't want people to come along and prove them wrong. We all have that to a degree. I personally like when people try to challenge me, because like you, as evidenced by the the Twitter space. Anyways, if you think I should do that on a Saturday night, just upload the Twitter space and have us have some fun and do some commentary and have some drinks and go through it bit by bit. It's just not really great visual. That's the only issue with it. But if you're up for it, I can do it. So just say the word, let me know. Okay, a couple of comments here, and then I'll get to the last couple of points, and I'm going to get out of here. Steve Bell. Steve Bell, is that the lunatic from the Ottawa Police Force who got passed up for his promotion because he's a lunatic? I'm just kidding with you, brother. It's good to see you here. Thank you. Jesse, I wanted to be a journalist. I'm so honest. It's disgusting. Trudeau would probably have me in prison 80 floors underground at this point. Yeah, I mean, sure, I agree. But, there are still good people in journalism, and I've been talking to a lot of them. Unfortunately, throughout the convoy and coming up, I'm going to have to go through people in the U.S., which I'll explain in a second. So now I have to download locals. Oh, my God, Ben, pick a spot. Okay. Let me explain it to you so you understand. Okay, Jesse? There's two platforms that I'm live streaming to, are the primary ones, okay? Yes, it's going on Facebook and stuff like that, because I don't know why there's some people who still use Facebook for whatever reason. Like, everybody complains about, here you go, the cognitive dissonance. Everybody complains about Facebook censorship, but then they won't get off Facebook. For me, it's just, it's crazy making. I got off Facebook, 4 years ago, I think, is when I just ditched Facebook completely. And I've had to come back just because that might have been part of the communications problem from my end during the convoy, because I know the conversion rate on Facebook is basically nothing. It's a dead platform. It's like MySpace at this point. There's really nothing to it. So I focused utilizing Twitter, which was the most prominent platform. That's how I was able to get the messaging out. Twitter and Minds and a few other platforms, and Telegram here and there. But yeah, I'm streaming to Facebook right now, but that's not the primary platforms, because I know there's going to be censorship at some point, and I really don't care, to be honest. There's a few of us there, and that's it. So there is the, although there's a massive group of Freedom Convoy supporters, which I'm going to talk about the next stream, because it's really another area of concern around all these people. At least it should be for all of you. So YouTube is the primary platform, along with Locals. Those two platforms, that's it. YouTube for SEO purposes is the reason I'm putting out to YouTube. And then Locals ultimately will become, there's going to be more exclusive content on Locals because it's a free speech platform, or as free speech as they get. So I won't have to deal with censorship on Locals, whereas on YouTube right now and on Facebook, I got to be a little bit careful. So if I want to get into evidence and all that sort of stuff, I'm just going to put it on Locals for that reason. So you don't have to join Locals right now, but over time, it's going to become more enlightening, if that helps. So please, I love you, Jesse. Don't get angry with me, and I'm going to give you a star for being so sweet. All right, I just clicked the star for you. Steak Bear, it's really, quote, a deal when one party gets nothing out of it. Yeah, the deal is leave. That's the deal. Leave, and we'll let you leave. Like, they're so... I just have to say it this way. I'm sorry. They're so full of shit. They're so full of shit. I have never met such a bigger bullshit artist in my life, and I've met a lot of bullshit artists. I really have. Listen, anyways, it is what it is. Yes, the Twitter Space analysis and review would be fun and also interesting. Okay, so I'll figure out, Beth, a time where I can block it off, and we'll do it on Locals. We'll do it on a weekend, maybe a Saturday night, so people don't have pressures of waking up in the morning or whatever. We'll each grab a glass of wine or whatever, hang out, join the comments, and and listen to this thing, and I'll walk you all through it. Good morning, Sonia. It's good to see you. Karen, can the Bitcoin be returned to the people who donated it? Not if it's in escrow, and Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous, and... that's kind of how it operates. So we don't know, at least I don't know how it was processed. Because remember, there was a team of people they're dealing with technical issues as well. I don't really know the extent of it. They had a multi-sig wallet, which I've never used before. I understand what it's supposed to be and how it operates, but like I would never multi-sig anything. Maybe if I get married, I'll multi-sig something. But until then, I don't really have a use for it. And they were having all sorts of technical challenges to try and get it out of the multi-sig into a wallet and then into paper wallets, but without it being tracked by the government or something like that. Like I was not on that end of it. I was just the guy who was part of the Freedom Convoy who uses Bitcoin and understands it. That's why they came to me and said, we're going to run this fundraiser. And I said, great. And I tried to tell the board, and it's for criminal activity. And like, oh, fuck. Anyways, it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure they would maybe remember it differently now, but that's how I remember it. The amount of resistance was, and listen, that's normal behavior as well, right? Something new, people automatically assume that it's bad, and so I don't really blame them for that. That's just a natural reaction. I found you on Locals. I'm on YouTube at the moment. I have messaged you on Twitter but can't DM you there because you apparently have to follow me to do that. I left a message for you there. Yeah, so Jesse, I used to have my DMs open, but I get so many messages now, and I was getting so many cryptocurrency scams. So many, like thousands of them, and it just got out of hand. So if you sent me a message just tag me in a message, say, hey, follow me, so I can DM you, then I'll follow you and you can DM me, and we can go from there. So, and thank you for that. I appreciate it. And join us tonight, by the way, for with DJ Satoshi at, I think, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, where we're going to just talk about, I don't know, he wants to interview me about a bunch of things around not just the Freedom Convoy. He wants to talk to me about this. I don't want to say the most amazing book ever. It's the most amazing book written by me. Of all the books I've written, this is the best. I promise you. It's also the only one. But I promise you'll enjoy it. And I've been getting so much feedback about it, and people absolutely love it. And the fact that people are telling me it made them cry and it made them all emotional is reward enough for me. I absolutely love it. And so Christmas, by the way, stocking stuffer, I think this will fit just nicely. And you have that other book, How the Prime Minister Stole Freedom. I'm going to use my thumb. That one there. Maybe they would go well together. And I encourage everybody to get this book and send it to your liberal friends. That's why it's written as a positive story about peace and love and all of us coming together. And if you can get them to read it, I think it'll open up their minds, right? And that's why when you open up the book, there's no prologue, there's no introduction, there's just a quote. The first page you open after the table of contents says, "Unjust laws exist. Shall we be content to obey them, or shall we endeavor to amend them?" Henry David Thoreau, about civil disobedience. And then, chapter 1, Enemy of the State. It just gets right into it, and you're right in the middle of it. So that's, I think, part of the reason it's a quick read, and everybody gets through it. It's only like a 3.5-hour read or something like that. So there we go. HonkingForFreedom.com. And don't forget, Christmas is around the corner. I got so many bills to pay from that book. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. People are, our Dichter's trying to make money. It's like, Dichter's just trying to pay his bills right now because there's so many. All of this is a lot of sacrifice. I'm not complaining about it. It's my pleasure, but just so people know. How do we get the books? Perfect. Go to honkingforfreedom.com, so the title, .com. And you can buy it right now. I don't know what, me and Ed and Ellie have been trying to have a meeting now for 2 weeks to find out what's going on. Right now it's on Amazon, Kobo, and Etsy, apparently. And the next one that's supposed to be available is eBook It. I don't know what the holdup has been. Hopefully I'll talk to him in the truck today, and he'll explain it to me. But honkingforfreedom.com, and you can drop ship it to anybody you want as a gift, or bring it home and send it out. Now, for people who are in Ontario, I'm going to try. We were trying to do an event in Wallaceburg, which we just postponed. We haven't canceled it. We've postponed it. There's a whole bunch of reasons about that. It's my life right now. I got so much on the go. I just can't handle it right now. So I told them, let's do it after the new year. But I'm going to try to get out to Niagara Falls. There's a group that's out there frequently. There's some people who want to get signed copies to send it out for Christmas. So I'm going to try to get together with a group of people within the next week, just to do a, hey, get together at a pub, whatever, sign some books, hang out for the night sort of thing, or for a couple of hours. When I know what it is, I'll let you know. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it tomorrow. They usually meet on Friday nights because I'll be driving back, and I think my back haul is late. So to drop the truck off, get in the car, and then go back to, I'll be well beyond the time that they're there. But if anybody does want any signed books for Christmas, if you're in Ontario, let me know, and I'll communicate when we can all get together, and I can do some just casual, doing a pub. I'll have a couple of drinks. We'll have some food. And I'm thinking to try to do it in Niagara Falls is my goal. So there you go. HonkingForFreedom.com is the answer. So audiobook read by you. Yes, the audiobook is, I've laid out all the infrastructure. I haven't started recording the chapters yet. I'm probably going to do that over the Christmas holidays. There's a couple of events I'm involved in as speakers. I'm going to be a keynote speaker at Bitcoin Canada in 2023 and a few other things. So I'm going to try to correlate the launch of the audiobook around a couple of things that are happening next year. I have a tentative date for the audiobook. It'll be early in the year, in the first quarter. If I can get it all completed and done, and Ellie and I and the team can get it all published. So yes, there will be an audiobook, I promise, because what do truckers do? We listen to audiobooks, podcasts and audiobooks, at least a lot of us. And yes, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it in English, and then eventually when we do it in Spanish, hopefully I will, I won't trip over my words too much, and I'll be able to read it in Spanish. I always believe that the author should be the one who is reading the audiobook, at least from my perspective. Sounds like you agree. Okay, accepting the truth is emotionally challenging, but it's better prepares us for what is coming. Denial won't stop this evil train. This world reset. Look to God. He is our only true hope. So yeah, I think somebody sent me a quote yesterday, and it was perfect. And I don't know where it went, but that as difficult as it is accepting the truth, accepting the lie is far more damaging over the long term, which is why I'm going out of my way to ensure that all of you have the truth and there's no ambiguity. That's why I go into Twitter Spaces to answer people's questions. That's why I went on Rebel News with Sheila Gunn. Like Sheila Gunn Reid was smashing me and saying, well, we don't understand Benjamin's testimony and blah, blah, blah. And there's all sorts of questions about Benjamin. There's your narrative journalism. Questions are about me. So she said, we'll have Benjamin on at any time. And once I got wind of that, I called my lawyer and I said, hey, Jim, you have Sheila's contact information. She said she wants to have me on or have us on to explain the full story. Then why don't you reach out to me? He said, yeah, I know Sheila. So he did. He called her. And we did an hour-long session. So if you go to Rebel News Canada, you can watch the full interview. I'll post it. I've posted it a couple times on Twitter. I'll post it again, which is the full context. Explains a lot of the testimony. But I felt what was really upsetting. I said to Sheila first, I sent her a message. I posted online, I'm like, why isn't this on your weekly show? And because I got that from a subscriber of Rebel News, or I guess now a former subscriber who I know. Was waiting for the interview, went on to Rebel News Canada, and they didn't put it on. And Sheila said, oh, we didn't want it to be behind a paywall. We wanted everybody to see it. And then I thought after, I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. But why haven't you put it on your main channel? They put it on the Rebel News Canada channel, like kind of buried it away. Why isn't it on the main channel? Like, it's so, I don't know. Everybody's full of shit. It's so, like, it's frustrating. It is what it is. But there you go. So you can go to Rebel News Canada and you can watch the full interview with us that explains everything. And that's why I'm also here on the National Telegraph, which we've formed, kind of this quasi, I think we'll be working relationship at some point where I'll just kind of do my thing on their platform and they'll continue doing their news because we need to get truth out to people even when it's frustrating. So because we got to help people break through their cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias and be able to see that, okay, there's a difference between a narrative that you're being sold and documented truth that's been submitted as evidence to on the public record to the commission. Okay, what else did I wanted to say here? Oh, okay, so yeah, the other thing is I got a bunch of U.S. interviews popping up this week. I think I'm gonna do Newsweek because I know some people there, some good people actually, some really good people. So we'll see how that works. There's a whole bunch of other interviews I have popping up, and I'd love to tell you. I'd love to tell you who they are and whatever, but I can't because of because of my shadow. Okay, so let me explain something about the characters that you've seen that have been attacking me, doing their emotive video, leaving Ottawa when they're the ones who engaged in the sabotage of the convoy. Did you ever see the movie The Italian Job? I'm going to reference the newer one because I like the newer Mini as opposed to the older Mini. But The Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg and Edward Norton, remember that? Well, Edward Norton was the guy who he stabbed everybody in the back. He tried to take all the money, tried to kill everybody, and take all the money and leave. And then what did he do? When they finally tracked him down, living somewhere in L.A., because, of course, in the movie business, L.A. is the only city in the world that exists, they finally tracked down Edward Norton, whatever his character name was in the movie. And what was he doing? He had purchased all the things and was living all the dreams of everybody else. So he got an Aston Martin, I think it was a Vantage, if I'm not mistaken, a V12 Vantage. He got a big house. He bought the guy who wanted certain, computers and a technical tech infrastructure. He bought all the tech products that the other guys want. He bought everybody else's dream because he was vapid. He was an empty vessel, like a Justin Trudeau. That's who these people were that we were dealing with who sabotaged us in Ottawa. They were Edward Norton. So if you want to put a face to Edward Norton in the Italian Job, that's what you saw testifying in the commission. That's what you're seeing in these YouTube posts from the person who uses the word soldier and battlefield every other word and never left the country. That's why. That's Edward Norton's character right there. And I think when you understand that framing, then it becomes very, very evident, and you can start to see through all the nonsense. And harken back to my earlier point that I was getting to earlier. There was a friend of mine who was upset with the post that I put, that Hurt Locker Tom seems to, what's it called? That Hurt Locker Tom uses, how did I word it? He uses the word soldier and battlefield every other word. And then I posted a picture of his IMDb account, his actor account. That's a certain degree of, it's pathological deceptiveness. It's there's clearly no conscience there whatsoever. And, when people talk about their battlefield experience, but then they show videos of the cops that are trampling on people, you start to think, hey, where was your battlefield experience to prevent this? Oh, wait, no, it looks like you helped them because you were secretly meeting with the police on a regular basis when you had access from the team in the hotel that was very gracious to everybody who wanted to help. And it appears as though you took that information and gave it directly to the police. Did that happen? I don't know. Sure as hell seems like it, because in the first couple of weeks, when trucks were parked where we were told to park, the police really couldn't, they had to deal with us. They had no choice but to negotiate with us just because it was spread out too much. And there was no residential areas, by the way. That is a lie. And I can't believe the lawyers from the JCCF not once challenged that assertion about residential neighborhoods. No. It was all commercial neighborhoods. It was all downtown. Just because you put a condo in the middle of downtown doesn't make it a residential area. Have you seen a picture of some trucks parked in front of some suburban homes? Have you seen that? I haven't seen that, because that's not what's the makeup of downtown Ottawa. I mean, does nobody play city skylines to understand how a city is laid out? Like, it's pretty obvious. So not one comment from the lawyers representing us to push back against that assertion. Yet at the same time, we get this bullshit clown show where the last statement was, if there's ever a time for a prime minister to resign, it's now. Oh my God, playing to YouTube. This is a legal proceeding. This is not politics. This is a matter of legal jurisprudence. What are you doing? Anyways, that's it is what it is. You now know my thoughts. But it is what it is. We've gotten through it. So it's all behind us, right? We don't really have to worry about it. Right now, what's the next step? The next step is to reach out to people and to share the truth of what went on. To look forward to Christmas and being with your friends and family. To hopefully get some stocking stuffers for people for Christmas and sharing this experience. And can you imagine if you have family or friends that are not supportive of the Freedom Convoy? You get them this for a Christmas gift, and then you're around the Christmas dinner table. What are you going to talk about, right? Now, don't be adversarial. Don't attack them if they're not supportive, because this is your family time, right? Be empathetic, but try to reach out to them. And maybe this will help plant the seed. Because if we can get people to understand the reason the Freedom Convoy was important, then I think that we can get them to understand the reason freedom is important, and what the governments were doing to all of us was very, very dangerous, and it needs to end. So that's why this is just one step in the process, and it's a small step, but yet also could yield large results. At least I hope so. So that's why I'm trying to do this this contribution for all of us. Patrick, our Dutch farmers are protesting again today. Awesome. Police are trying their best to stop them from being heard. They had a shovel almost tip over. Oh, wow. One of the tractors. Luckily, there was no one in it. Patrick, it's funny. When I spoke with, I don't know, one of the times Jordan and I had a couple of conversations before this last leg of his tour, he said to me that the Dutch farmers looked at what you guys were doing in Ottawa. They looked at the messaging, that would be me, the positive messaging, and they looked strategically at what happened to the convoy in Ottawa, and they used that to kind of plan how they would protest in the Netherlands. So for me, that was huge to understand that we, in some way, helped, and even in a small way, to inspire the Dutch farmers to stand up for themselves. And I hope we had both positive and negative experiences, and I hope they both help you. And we're all behind you, and I am definitely behind you. So, yeah, awesome. Patrick says correct. Well, thanks, brother. Appreciate it. The Canadian truckers showed us the way. Oh, so you're part of the protest. You follow me on Facebook. And if there's anything I can do from here to help with a messaging strategy, I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of interviews, as I mentioned earlier. And I didn't get to what I was going to say, but I'll tell you in a second. If I can help, spread the message, or there's certain talking points or grievances you want to communicate to American media. Patricia. If there's anything you want me to communicate, let me know. It will be my pleasure, and I will help out. Okay. I have all these interviews coming up because, much like I was getting to Edward Norton. Remember, I said Edward Norton. That's who those people were. And in the movie The Italian Job, they just copy everything you do, whatever. That's why I can't tell the interviews that I'm going on, because I have this shadow around me, this whisper campaign of shadow of political activists linked to the conservative political parties. Once they get wind that I'm going to do an interview with somebody, they then start calling them or sending messages saying, hey, we're part of Freedom Corp, or we raised money for Freedom Corp, or we're the lawyers for Freedom Corp. Why don't you have us on and we'll talk about it, Don't say anything about me, and then they just kind of co-opt it, and that's happened a bunch of times. Shocking, people can't see that that's happening, but it is what it is. So that's why when interviews come out, they'll come out, and I'll share it with all of you, because those people are psychos like Edward Norton, The Italian Job. So the good things are Christmas is happening. Another great thing, Dutch farmer protest continues. Next thing, you got this Honking for Freedom by some guy named BJ, who wrote this book to tell the story of everything that went on behind the scenes. And it hits you, as Kiss Junkie says, it hits you right in the feels, and makes quite a few people get emotional and cry. And Guillaume told me the same thing. A whole bunch of people have told me the same thing. So tears of joy, that's what the holiday season is about, right? If we can communicate these tears of joy to people on the other side of the political spectrum and get them to wake up about freedom, then 2023 is going to be an awesome year, at least from my perspective. So it is what it is. Delta Marie, Canada Poly covered it yesterday, Rumble, and it gained some traction on Twitter. Covered what? What did he cover? Let me know. I'll try to check, but I'm about to get in the truck and go down to Middletown, New York. So I'll see if I can find a break and look into it. Someone asked Tom if he was pro-life at a political event, and he said, I've been trained to kill people as efficiently as possible, so how can I call myself pro-life? Oh my God. What a maniac. Oh my God. Hold on. I'm going to have to screenshot that because that is the funniest thing I have ever heard in my life. Oh, removed from broadcast. Why was that removed from broadcast? Hold on. Oh, it's asked me if I want to. Oh my God. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? Like, these people are crazy. The guy worked a desk job his whole career. And not to take away from that. Yeah, you're in the military and you're serving, but let's not. That's why we call him Hurt Locker Tom, right? Oh my God, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And anyways, thank you very much for that, for sharing that. That is the best thing I've heard all day. Jesse Googling it. And yeah, if you guys find anything, let me know. I'm not going to be doing a stream tomorrow because I will be in the U.S. I will be doing a stream on Saturday, so we can join here if there's anything to catch up. And tonight, if you're on Twitter, DJ Satoshi is going to be hosting, or if you go on at 9 o'clock, you should see the purple ring around me, and you can join. And I encourage you. We're going to be talking a lot about Bitcoin freedom and the book Honking for Freedom. And I guess just anything else sort of thing. He's a Bitcoin biased person, so it's going to be, I don't know how heavy it'll be on the Bitcoin. Like, it won't be so technical, and it'll probably be a good place for newbies who aren't sure of Bitcoin. Like Jesse, you mentioned that last time you're uncomfortable with Bitcoin. This is a perfect opportunity. We'll talk about all this stuff, but I'm sure we'll get into like beginner Bitcoin issues. So that's a great place to come on stage and to ask. And hopefully I will already be in my destination and not driving through the Pocono trying to get to my destination. I'm going to try and get there early so it'll be quiet, and I'll just be either in my desk in the back of the truck or in the second bunk and just hanging out and chilling with all of you. Lisa, was a great book. The ending was a tearjerker. I love hearing that. Thank you so much. And I feel so blessed that I've been able to give some of you a positive experience with it. So thank you very, very much for that. I'm getting the book for Christmas. Thanks, Ben. Awesome. So please share it with as many people as possible. I'm going to find out in the next few days when I'll be available in the Niagara area or Grimsby area or something like that to get together and to meet some of you, which is the primary thing I want to do, and sign some books. If you want to have some signed books for Christmas gifts, I'll put that together, and so we can do that, okay? It's getting late. It's 9:59. I'm well over my time. I got to run, or I'm going to be late for my thing today. The clip of the is of the chair of the commission and Freeland. It seems he held his finger over his lips, and Freeland stopped speaking. Maybe. With Freeland, for me, it was more like when she kept tapping and said, "I can't hear you." Can't hear who? Who? George Soros is telling her what to say? I mean, George Soros is basically a vegetable at this point, so he's not telling her anything. It's whoever works for those organizations. But anyways, look, everything's shaping up to be awesome. The commission is behind us. I've spread a little bit of truth and love, and a bunch of you are accepting it and understand it. Some people don't, but give them some time. I think time heals all wounds. We're heading into Christmas, and everybody's going to have time with their families. You have a reason to talk about the Freedom Convoy in a positive way during Christmas dinners. Please, no fights. Don't fight with your family. If somebody gets really, really angry, don't challenge them. I want you all to have an awesome and amazing Christmas with your family. I know I'm going to bring a couple of copies to the parts of my family that celebrate Christmas, and for all the people who say I'm part of some global conspiracy, I have a lot of family that's Christian, by the way. So I'm going to be bringing them copies of the book as well for Christmas. So I got to run. I love you all. Have an amazing day. And Libby, perfect. Darkness hates the light. So keep sharing it.